Hello, everybody joining us by Zoom. We're going to get started in just a minute, so stay tight. We'll be right with you. If you're able to hear us online, please raise your hand so we can see you on the video. All right, thank you. Everybody who's dialing in from a life-size unit, we've gone ahead and we've muted your lines for you on our side. But if you could also do us a favor and mute your Mustang or whatever other device you have in the room with you, if you could mute those phones for us, that'd be great.
I think we'll go ahead and get started. Hello. Okay, if we get started?
Shall we be on time?
Yes. Well, I mean, we're already 5 minutes late. All right. I feel like I don't need this mic, but I'll do it for the people. Hey, everybody. I'll do it for the people. My name is Ellie Harris. I'm part of the People and Culture Group. Happy 2016, and thank you for joining for our first Inspire Speaker Series of the year. Our guest today is very special for many reasons, but one, because she was referred to us by an employee. This is something that we love. So if you have any ideas of speakers who you want to see up here or topics that you want to hear about, send Logi Learner an email, and we will see what we can do about it. So when we first talked to Miriam, we liked her right away because you can just tell. Yeah, because she answered our email. No, but you can just tell that she really cares about the whole person and has a passion for teaching others how to live life to the fullest. So today she'll be talking about, if not now, then when, and what a better way to start the new year off than learning about how we can just seize the moment and take advantage of today. So without further ado, Miriam, thank you for being here.
Okay, there we go. I'm usually quite loud by myself, but maybe for the purposes of this thing. Anyway, the way I want to proceed is I'll make the presentation, which should be less than half an hour, and then we'll have some time for you to ask questions, for us to speak more informally, if you like. Afterwards, I also have some flyers if you were actually interested in taking this further. Two of your employees are our students, and I'll let them speak afterwards about whether it's useful, effective, or not. So then we'll have a question and answer period afterwards. And just really to give you a little bit of a background, I run the School of Practical Philosophy in California. And the School of Practical Philosophy is a worldwide nonprofit educational organization really dedicated to serve those who want to seek more meaning in life, more meaning beyond work and home and shopping, you know. and who want to really know themselves and find a way to self-mastery and to living a happier life. We are a school, so we have regular courses. And I always give a talk before the beginning of each term. I'm giving one in San Ramon on Saturday on the subject of desires and how our possessions end up by possessing us. But I gave a range of topics for your consideration, and this one was chosen, which comes from a talk I gave recently. And really, it is about living in the moment. And I know there's a lot of conversation about mindfulness and all that out there, but what does it actually mean, and how do we get there? So that's the sort of direction of the talk. And it is very much based on the teachings of the School of Practical Philosophy, and we will talk about that a bit later, about where the origins are and so on. So the title of the talk, as Ellie said, is If Not Now, When? And I'll tell you later where that quote comes from. And the subtitle is Living in the Light of the Eternal Present. There is a special kind of light when you are in the present, and light in both senses of the word. And I want to start with a quotation from a Bay Area philosopher called Jacob Needleman. You may or may not have heard of him, but he's written many books. He teaches at Berkeley. And he describes a problem with which, unfortunately, we're all too familiar. And this is what he says. He says, what is it that makes all of us end each day with the sense that we have not lived our time, but have been lived, used by what we do? How can you free up more time for yourself? All of the great masters counseled that we need time daily for solitude. And if we want our journey in life to be meaningful, then surely we need some free time each day to explore our inner landscapes and uncover our passions. What activities can you cut out of your life to give you more growing room? Why has time disappeared in our culture? How is it that after decades of inventions and technologies devoted to saving time and labor, the result is that there is no time left? We are a time-poor society. We are temporally impoverished. And there's no issue, no aspect of human life that exceeds this in importance. The destruction of time is literally the destruction of life. It's a really serious problem that Dr. Needleman refers to. So are you time poor or time rich? How do you live each day? Who lives your life? Is it you or the character in your head with its what ifs and if onlys playing themselves over and over again? Do you truly love this moment, this day, like Winnie the Pooh? So Pooh asks, what day is it? And Piglet says, it's today. Pooh answers, my favorite day. We're so used to living in a world dominated by the thinking mind that we miss the joy and the energy of the present moment. For example, somebody back there is checking his email right now. Not a good idea, put it away. Now you're here, listen to me. The email will be there, I won't. So the world of the mind is the world of the remembered past and the imagined future. It's a world full of thoughts, opinions, ideas, judgments, and comparison. It includes everything except what is here right now. It's vast, but not real. It cannot sustain you or fulfill you. When you are in the world of the mind, you're not here now. The title of the talk, If Not Now, When, comes from a statement by Hillel the Elder, who was a great Jewish rabbi who lived some 2,000 years ago. And the full quote is, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? But if I'm only for myself, who am I? If not now, When? And what he means is, stop procrastinating. If not now, when? If you're not going to know yourself now, if you're not going to take that trip or that course or meet that person or read that book, when will you? So get moving on it now. The only real time we have is now. The only place you can really live is now. Now is the only place where action is possible. Is action possible in the past? No, because when action happened in the past, then it was the present, right? And it's not possible in the future. So the only place you can act is now. Past and future exist only in the mind, in the form of memory and imagination. And yet, most of us spend most of our life trapped in this virtual universe, stuck between these two illusory dimensions of time and disconnected from what's actually going on around us. Thinking is way overvalued. It really isn't as productive as you might think, but we can talk about that later. In the rare moments when we are present, we can discover freedom, clarity, happiness, and access to creativity and endless energy. The goal of what I teach, which is practical philosophy, is really simple. It's to wake us up out of this dream of a separate me, which is projected by the thinking mind, onto the reality of life. It is to help us cultivate a quiet mind, an attentive mind, and come to know our true self as the one, and I mean one with a capital O, who is fully present, free from regrets and nostalgia about the past or concerns regarding the future. Reflect on the times when you have been present. Maybe you were playing with a child, or engaged in sport, or you were having a meaningful conversation with a friend, or doing something you really love. Do you notice how time seems to disappear? It sort of stops. Is that the usual quality of our lives? Are you aware of how your mind replays the unfinished tasks? We're having some work done on our new school, and I woke up at 2 o'clock this morning thinking, did they remember to put the holes in the granite, for the wires to go through? And at that moment, there was nothing I could do about whether they had or hadn't remembered to put the holes in the granite, except it kept me awake for 2 hours. So when this is out of control, our life is out of control. So, we are, as long as we're occupied with our to-do lists and with this past and future, we lose the ability to be present, we lose our freedom. Do we vacillate? Do we procrastinate? Do we waste this precious moment by putting off what needs to be done right now? Shakespeare speaks about the treasure which is lost when we miss the infinite potential of this present moment. And I know in this country people aren't too familiar with Shakespeare, and if you need, I will explain this. But anyway, this is what he says. He says, "There is a tide in the affairs of men, which taken at the flood leads on to fortune. Omitted, all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and miseries." I'm not a surfer, but apparently when you can catch the wave, it takes you. But when you miss that moment, when you miss that precise moment, it can destroy you. We have a choice to participate in this cosmic dance of life, or we can be wallflowers, spectators to life, trapped in these patterns and habits of the past. Or we can choose to step onto the stage and dance to the music of life and be part of that energy and the opportunity and the guidance that is available. The busy mind is usually under the control of the ego. The ego, this me character, what I want, what I need, what I have to do right now. And it fools us with a promise of contentment and satisfaction sometime in the future, when the day's work is finished, when the children have left school, when the mortgage has been paid off, always in this never, never land. We identify with our roles. We are frustrated and overwhelmed by the world and all the demands. We lose power and we miss out on the miracle that's taking place right here, right now. Steve Jobs spoke to Stanford graduates in 2005, and he spoke on the subject of living before you die. And this is what he said. He said, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the result of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most importantly, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. Really, he's speaking philosophically. He's saying without self-knowledge, everything else is a waste of time. Now, time. Time has two dimensions. There is clock time, and that is man-made, and it's proof or evidence of the fleeting moment, seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, seasons, years, decades, and millennia. They're just conventions to regulate our lives, and a reminder of the futility of resisting inevitable change or trying to control the future. The wise, remembering the true self, which is the unchanging witness of this drama that we call life, are able to watch the ups and downs of life without losing their inner bliss. Only when we understand and accept and make peace with what is, can we take appropriate action. The proper role of the active mind, and this is the sort of only high-tech part of my talk, is to serve as a data processor and an interpreter between the inner and the outer worlds, bringing us information through the senses about what's going on outside, and allowing us to make wise decisions without too much review over analysis or comparison, without basically overthinking. The restless mind, darting constantly between the past and the future, is unable to stay in the present and therefore is disconnected from that energy and potential which is in the present moment. The word present actually is really interesting. It has two meanings. One, obviously, present as in gift. So the present moment is a gift. But it also, if you look at the Latin root of the word, pre means what? It's before, as in both before, in front of, and before as in happened before. And sent means is, to be. And so it is whatever is in front of you. So I'm in front of you right now, so this is your present moment. The family, the job, all of that is only alive in the mind. It doesn't really exist. And so, as I said earlier, there's nothing we can do except now. It's not possible to work in the future or in the past. And so the best way to connect with this present moment, you might ask, how do I stay present if I want to be present? And the answer is through the senses, through connecting the mind with the five senses or any one of the five senses. So with your permission, I'd like to do a little experiment or a little exercise right now. If you would participate, maybe put down whatever you're holding on to, your plates, your bits of paper, whatever. If you wouldn't mind putting everything down, just indulge me for a moment. And then sit up straight, as in like a meditation pose. Sit up straight in your chairs. You don't have to stand up. No, sit, but just sit straight. So don't slouch. Yep. And put your hands on your lap. And close your eyes if you're happy. And just follow these simple instructions and see where we might go with that. So just take a deep breath. And consciously bring yourself into the present. And be aware of the weight of the body on the chair. So as I speak, let your awareness go to where your bottom meets the seat of the chair. And feel your feet on the floor. So don't think about what I'm saying. Actually, just follow the instruction. Be aware of this physical body from the top of your head to the soles of your shoes. And now allow that awareness to expand beyond your body. Just remove the limit, the word my body, and allow the awareness to expand. Just be aware of all the bodies in the room. You don't have to see them, just be aware of them. And then allow this awareness to expand beyond this room. Be aware of the city of Newark, and just allow the awareness to run right out with no limit. Be aware of this body breathing effortlessly, naturally. Just watch the breath as it enters and leaves the body. And as you refine the observation, if you notice any tightness in your chest or your stomach, just release it. Especially the ladies, we tend to hold in our stomachs, so just let it go, nobody's looking. Allow the breath to be deep and full. And appreciate the fact that through our breath, we are all connected. I am breathing in the air that you are breathing out, and vice versa. Be aware that these bodies all eat the same foods, drink the same water, breathe the same air. So be aware of unity beyond the apparent diversity. Now, leaving the body in this position of ease and balance, turn your attention to the mind. Invite the mind to relax. Remind the mind that there's nowhere to go and nothing to do at this moment. You are here. Make sure you're not frowning. And just keep watching. And imagine the surface of a lake, a very quiet lake. The surface is like a mirror. There might be some small ripples. And just watch as those ripples die away. Our mind becomes quiet and attentive. And appreciate the fact that these minds all hear the same sounds, are capable of understanding the same concepts, are able to have the same thoughts. So be aware of unity beyond this individuality. Connect with hearing. Hear all the sounds, near and far, without preference, without the need to identify or name the sounds. And now go a little deeper in yourself. Deep, deep at the center of your being, there is total stillness. And every sound arises out of that stillness and then returns there. So as you sink a little deeper, you might still hear my voice, but don't get involved with what I'm saying. Just enjoy the peace and stillness of yourself. So with a body which is balanced and at ease, a mind which is quiet and attentive, turn your attention to the heart and the emotions. Have a good look inside and see what leftover emotions there are in the heart. Is there fear or anxiety? Is there disappointment, unforgiveness, sadness? Whatever there is does not belong to this moment. So just let go of your attachment to that emotion, and it'll float away like so many balloons, and your heart will fill with pure love and it'll come to rest, and it'll be open to all. Appreciate the fact that we are all capable of experiencing the same emotions. So appreciate unity at the emotional level. So with the body, mind, and heart that is finely tuned, just rest in this great awareness for a moment. Connect with the breath again. And then gently bring your attention back into the room and open your eyes. How was that? How was it? Good. How good? Explain. What? Give me another word.
Very relaxing.
Yeah. And yet, I didn't put anything in there. That stillness, that relaxation is already there. It's just, the treasure is here, but we're somewhere else. So it's wonderful if you can take time in your life, a couple of times a day at least, just to do that. And you don't need all these words. You just connect with, sit in a chair straight, and just feel your bottom on the chair. That's all you need to do. And when the senses are connected with the mind isn't going to go all over the place. But if you really love my voice, it's on our website. You can listen to it and put it on your phone. The other way to come into the present, because you can't be going around with your eyes closed all day long, is to attend fully. What is the meaning of the word attend? What does it mean? Huh? Pay attention? What, now you're making it more complicated. What does it mean to pay attention? So attend is the sort of smaller word inside attention. What does it mean to attend? Yeah, be here. And it has another smaller word in it. The word tend is in there, like tending your garden, for example. And what does that imply? Care and love. So just to love being here instead of wanting to be somewhere else. Imagine that struggle that you would avoid inside yourself if you were content to be here, wherever it is that you happen to find yourself. So it would mean coming out of your head and losing interest in this constant commentary. Did I remember to call so-and-so, and all the rest of it. Because this is where freedom exists and wisdom exists and happiness is found. Why wouldn't you choose to spend all your time here? There's a Sanskrit poem that goes like this. It says, each today well lived makes yesterday a dream of happiness, and each tomorrow a vision of hope. Look therefore to this one day, for it and it alone is life. I mean, this all sounds theoretical, but I speak from personal experience when I tell you that there's like a 10-year period in my life when I was probably in my 30s. I have no memory of those 10 years except the photographs in our albums. I don't remember my children growing up, and yet I was physically there. I don't know where the mind was, but the body was there. Passing time is a one-way journey of this instrument from birth to death. That's all. That's where we're going. If this is the only dimension we know, then as we are hurrying through life, we are in effect racing to our end. Time is not just a left to right thing. It also operates vertically. And the most powerful dimension of time, which is the eternal now, is where clock time bends and stretches to meet the needs of the moment. If you've really ever been truly present, time loses its meaning. It becomes timeless. And on this, Einstein speaks about this in a very funny way. He says, where he noticed that linear time expands and contracts depending on the situation of the observer. You know about that. But this is what he said, to put it into layman's language. He says, spending a minute sitting on a hot stove will seem like an hour, while spending an hour with a beautiful girl seems like a minute. And Deepak Chopra says the same thing slightly differently. He says, if two men are sitting with the same beautiful girl, The time might drag for one because the girl is his sister, while it flies for the other if he's in love with her. So it's all very relative. It's totally subjective, and it's completely dependent on the state of your mind. And some lucky people seem to have all the time in the world. When you ask them to do something, they'll always say, sure, with pleasure. And yet they're very busy people. They do a lot, but they spend their time wisely. They don't waste it up here. So how is it that they're so time rich and the rest of us are so time poor? Now, all of this has to do with the material world. In the spiritual world, there is no past and future. There's only the here and now. And so choosing to live life in the present is not a denial or a devaluation of the past. Past experiences are always available for you to learn from. You know, you can always pull that file out in your mind and check things out. And also, there is a proper place for sitting and planning the future. So I decided to come and talk here this morning. I had to prepare the talk. I had to leave my house on time to get here, etc. But that's activity, again, in the present. I sit down and I decide, you know, how far is it? How long do I need to get there? And I make a decision, and that's a present activity. I don't know if you've heard of Khalil Gibran. He's my favorite poet, but he speaks thus about our relationship with time. He says, you would measure time, the measureless and the immeasurable. You would adjust your conduct and even direct the course of your spirit according to hours and seasons. Of time you would make a stream upon whose bank you would sit and watch its flowing. And yet, the timeless in you is aware of life's timelessness and knows that yesterday is but today's memory, and tomorrow is today's dream. And that which sings and contemplates in you is still dwelling within the bounds of that first moment which scattered the stars into space. To the degree that we are aware of this timeless aspect, we are alive. The rest of the time, we're not. So if you think of your life or a day in your life as a wheel, spinning around really fast. And sometimes you're at the top of the wheel. You're feeling good about yourself. And then, whoops, the thing is spinning down. Things are going pear-shaped. And then sometimes you're at the bottom and you're feeling, oh my God, I'm crushed. And then things begin to improve again. And so there is never a moment on the rim of this wheel where there is no movement. Where is there no movement in a wheel? Right at the center. And if the center doesn't hold still, that wheel is wobbly and it's all over the place. And so really the invitation is to strengthen that center by being present, and then you will be able to deal with all the ups and downs of life with great creativity and power and fearlessness. Now, immortality, and there's a dimension of us which is immortal, is found in this desireless present. Because in the present moment, you don't want to be somewhere else. You're not thinking of something else. You are here now. And you are able to witness yourself listening to me right now. I'm witnessing myself speaking to you right now. So there's this kind of presence, if you like, which watches over everything. And from this place, you experience great security, great safety. You're not in it. Your body, your mind are operating in the world, but something is watching all this. And so we live in this divided universe where there's a me and there's everything else. And this is at the root of our likes and dislikes and desires and comparisons and competition, worry, disappointment, all of that. And ultimately the cause of our unhappiness. As long as you remain in touch with that witness, that observer, then the waters are more quiet. There's less up and down. And of course, meditation, as you've probably heard, is supposed to be the best tool. I've been a meditator for some 27 years, and I can say that it has changed the life. But that's a subject, much deeper subject for another talk at some point in the future. So when you're present, when the mind is quiet and attentive, when you remember that there's nothing to do and nowhere to go. That doesn't mean to say the body isn't doing things. I am doing, talking, if you like. But there's a part of me that is not doing anything. It's just watching and is listening, actually, to this talk. I'm thinking, oh, some of it isn't bad, and so on. Joseph Campbell was an American philosopher who died in the 80s, I believe, and he speaks about this. He says, eternity isn't some time later. Eternity isn't a long time. Eternity has nothing to do with time. Eternity is that dimension of here and now which thinking and time cuts out. So we lose eternity when we're up here all the time. So we do need to start practicing being in the present if we choose to go there. And you can start with the smaller things like brushing your teeth. When you're brushing your teeth, what are the senses doing? Or what could they be doing? What is your sense of touch doing? What's it feeling? Yeah, the toothbrush against your teeth, right? What is the sense of smell doing? Smelling the toothpaste. The hearing? Yeah, you can't, the sound of this, nowadays you can't have the water running anymore. So anyway, the sound of the toothbrush against the teeth and so on. And so the taste clearly is tasting the toothbrush and you're present. In the kitchen sometimes, when I'm preparing a salad, I find it really relaxing because as you watch the knife, cutting through the cucumber and the smell of the cucumber comes and it's delightful, it's joyful. We have to do these tasks anyway. Might as well be present to it and reap the benefit of being there. So I'm going to bring this to an end. Dr. Stephen McKenzie is a psychologist and a mindfulness practitioner, and he offers the following tools. He says, start everything you do in stillness. And any work you do afterwards will automatically be mindful, enjoyable, stress-free, and productive. Secondly, do what needs to be done and not what you think needs to be done. This comes from really listening to who you're working with and for, and not the voices in your head telling you what you think needs to be done. And give your full attention to everything you do. Try a mindfulness at work experiment. Do a job you don't like, or one that you've been repeatedly putting off, and do it with full attention, and just see what happens. If you fully attend to whatever it is that you're doing, practice it at home. Wash the toilet. Decide to do it. Not because you want to, not because you like it, but just because it needs to be done. And stay with it and see. You'll see it's actually very enjoyable. So don't live in your mind. It's not a pleasant place. Develop a still mind, a beginner's mind, free of the burden of the past and uncertainty of the future. The more you practice this, the less interesting it'll be to be up here, and you'll catch yourself and you'll bring yourself back again. Observe measure. When you're present, you'll know the measure. So you'll know whether you should speak louder or quieter or press your foot harder on the pedal, gas pedal, or not. The knowledge is in the universe, and you're part of that. The creation doesn't intend any stress. Stress is a gap between what is and what I want. And the bigger this gap is, the bigger our absence, if you like, from the present moment is, the more stress we will endure. So watch your speech. Sometimes we say silly things like, I have too much on my plate, or I have to meet this deadline, or time is running out for me, or when will I ever find the time? Or people say to me, I'll try to come to the class. I hate that word try, because it means no. Easier to say, I'm not coming, or I'm coming, because you're hearing yourself. So when you say, I will, it'll happen. When you say, I'll try, you're giving yourself a way out. And this really is the end. This is from Thoreau, the 19th century American philosopher, and he's very clear about the necessity to be present. He says, you must live in the present. Launch yourself on every wave and find your eternity in each moment. Fools stand on their island of opportunities and look toward another land. There is no other land. There is no other life but this. So I will leave you with a Celtic blessing. May your past be a pleasant memory, your future filled with delight and mystery. And you're now a glorious moment that fills your life with deep contentment. Choose to live in the light of the present. If not now, when? So that's it. I'm available if there's anything you'd like to ask or object to or anything like that. Thank you. Thank you. Do you feel time poor? Do you say, I don't have time? Why? We live in paradise. We live in the richest country in the world. And we feel so poor. What a shame. And it's not, this is not real. It's an idea in the head. We will have time. Time really does stretch to meet the needs of the moment. But you can't waste it up here. Then, it's like having a hole in your pocket. All your money is running out. You want to say something? The gentleman behind you? No? Yes? No? No? Okay. Yes, over there.
Yes. Question do you think that now is actually as a lens or structure?
No. So I don't have a whiteboard here, but if you draw a horizontal line, this would be the linear time. So now it's whatever it is, 12:40, and in a minute it will be 12:50, or a couple of minutes and so on. And it goes only in one direction. And it goes from the past towards the future.
Yeah, but it's not a spot.
No, that's the time that we know. The present is the other axis. And it has no dimension. It's really very thin, that slice.
Abstraction. It's everything like spot is.
Everything is an abstraction. Everything that we communicate is an abstraction. But now, have you ever been in an accident? Well, I mean, you say yes, like every day there's an accident. But I mean, a serious accident, life-threatening.
You answered, right?
No, but seriously, I mean, I was in an accident, I remember many years ago. I was coming back from playing tennis, and I was in a car crash. And this was, maybe I was in 20-something years old. That's a long time ago. And I still remember the music that was playing on the car radio at that moment. And, like in the movies, the glass is falling slowly, and everything is very slow motion and so on. And the only reason I remember it is not because I intend to remember it or I keep bringing it to mind, but because I was fully present at that moment. But of necessity, I was fully present because, I was about to, expire. So, yes, that's sort of being present. And if you were on your deathbed, you had to make a little 5-minute movie of your life. I don't know how many things you would remember. Would you remember the meals? Would you remember every day that you came to work? Maybe you would remember a hug from a child, or... What are your thoughts on the subject?
I think it's a blessing that we forgot a lot of things.
I agree with you. I agree. Alzheimer's can be a blessing. Yes.
No, it's not Alzheimer's. I mean, everyday life is full of events. And
yeah.
If you remember everything for one day.
I agree with you. But this mind is like an amazing computer. I mean, you're all high-tech people. The computer has many things in there. And sometimes I'll tap in a word and it'll bring up something that I put in there in 2002. I don't even remember owning a computer in 2002. It's there. When you need it, you pull it out, but you don't have to live there. And just like your computer, if you've got too many windows open, it functions badly. So you want to close the windows. They're there. You can come back to them when you need them. Anyone else? Yes?
You were talking about your 30s, right, and kind of being a blurry time.
Mm.
When did you realize that you needed to step back, calm down, and live in the present? When did that shift happen, and what triggered it?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I think all my life I've been a spiritual seeker without knowing the word. I remember I used to have a dream as a child of flying, but not, like swimming in the air. And remembering in the dream, I can't fly. And yet, like doing the breaststroke, I could do it. You're shaking your head. Have you had? See, it's a universal kind of a dream. So there was always something here that knew that this is not all there is to life. And I would say at the beginning, I was more of a spiritual tourist. So I'd go to this talk and that talk and buy this book. And I had amazing dinner party conversation. I could quote, Deepak Chopra verbatim and all that stuff. And then in 1989, I lived in London at the time, and it was a difficult time of my life. I was going through a divorce and all of that. And I found this School of Practical Philosophy, and I went to the first class. And the teacher was very ordinary. There was nothing particularly inspiring or exciting about him. And yet after 10 minutes of listening to him, I thought, oh my God, this makes such sense. It's like everything that I already knew was being put together kind of properly so I could see the picture. And we did this exercise, the one we've just done together. And I suddenly became aware of this noise in my head. I had never heard it before, this kind of constant commentary in the head. Like the guy was wearing actually mismatched socks, that teacher in that first class. And that's all I kept doing. I kept looking at his feet thinking, my God, he's got, and he was like reading from this. And I was thinking, what kind of a teacher is this? I could do that. There was this constant commentary. And it scared me when I heard that. It was like 100 people living in your house. And so that was the shift. Really coming to the School of Practical Philosophy was a shift, but it's a journey. It's not like you wake up one moment and then you stay awake for the rest of your life. It's spiritual fitness. You have to go to the spiritual gym every day, practice being present. But take a word like stillness. My English is very good, but I didn't really understand what stillness meant. I understood it intellectually, but I'd never physically tasted stillness. And now when I meditate, there are moments of stillness, and I know that is who I am. And the fear of death disappears. The fear of everything disappears. And life becomes this very interesting journey. And the downs are just as interesting as the ups, And, I'm 71 years old, and I live a very, very active and full life. And I'm by no means, like a monk on a mountaintop. But my life is transformed as a result of this kind of understanding. Are you ready to wake up?
I definitely want to.
But, this... All right, we'll come and take one or two of these. And our classes start next week. Come. We have a class in San Jose. We have a class in Pleasanton. And Susie, you want to say something?
Yeah, I attended the last class, the course one, which is based on the concept of wisdom. And let me first say, it's for the walking price of $10.
Yeah, and you get dinner.
And you get, which is hilarious.
Well, it's free.
It's fantastic also. But it's, and I found it so enlightening and therapeutic and interesting, and I really don't even know words to describe it.
Was it alien? Susie, was it alien in any way? Was it anything you didn't know?
It felt so familiar.
There you go. Yeah. It's going home.
Yeah. So anyway, I really enjoyed it, and I really recommend it, and I'll be starting the second course.
Happiness.
Happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Next week it begins.
Roshi, do you want to say anything?
Actually, I started school for about 2 years ago, and I moved to the U.S. for about 3 years ago. And I keep saying that the best thing that happened to me after moving to the U.S. is starting the School of Practical Philosophy.
This is, by the way, paid rent-a-crowd.
As Miriam said, everything at a school is really familiar, nothing really new. But listening to all these amazing words every week for just less than 2 hours, at least gave me and my husband power to live the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot say that I'm living the moment every day or every hour, but I can say that I knew that I have to live the moment, and I try to live the moment as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. It really is a kind of a life-changing thing, the school. Yeah? Golru? No. It is. And, we have students, we've been going for 11 years in the Bay Area, and we have students who've been coming for 11 years. It becomes a way of life. It's kind of a nice kind of an addiction. And we have students come from long, long way away because they miss it when they're not there. They realize, that they've lost connection with themselves, and it's really sad. Right side of the room is quiet. Anyone? No? Yes.
What do you teach in that course?
Say it again.
What do you teach in that course?
You come from India, right?
Yeah.
The Advaita philosophy of India. That's what we teach. Advaita means not two. Dvaita in Sanskrit means two. A means not. And it's the philosophy of unity. And I think now, for many of us, religion stops making a lot of sense. Somebody else telling you, follow me, I know the way, I'm going to take you there, and this is the only way, this is the right way, all those other guys are wrong, kind of thing. Philosophy is the road to yourself. And the teaching tells you that every one of us comes into the world pure, perfect, and complete, fully loaded. This computer is fully loaded. But like my computer, about which I know very little, I use it, but I don't use it fully. I don't use all the functions that it can do. Self-knowledge is the deepest form of knowledge. To understand how the mind works, how the heart works, how it's supposed to work, is to really understand the instrument and then live. I'll tell you a story. We have many stories in our teaching. So this comes from the Advaita. Well, I should say it's a marriage between the Indian philosophy of Advaita and the Greeks and Socrates and Plato and all that, who basically said the same thing in slightly different words. So that's what it is. Anyway, here's the story. There was a baby lion that got separated from his mother and was lost in the forest. And there was a sheep with her lambs, and she found the baby lion crying, and so she took the baby lion under her wings, and the baby lion grew up with the lambs thinking he was a sheep. And so he was eating grass and sort of saying ba, ba, and with his head down all the time and so on. And anyway, sometime later, another big lion came into this forest and roared. So what happens when the lion roared to the sheep? They all ran away, didn't they? Except this baby lion that sort of listened, and he thought, oh, that's a familiar sound, He didn't run away. And then the big lion came next to the little lion, and they went to a lake, and they looked down in the lake. And the little lion realized, I'm like this one. I'm not like them. Not that there's anything, by the way, wrong with being a sheep, if you're a sheep. The problem is if you're a lion and you think you're a sheep, okay? So from that moment, the baby lion became the lion. In fact, he had always been the lion, but he didn't know he was a lion. So from then on, his food changed, his sound changed. He didn't need to be, part of that gang. And in a way, there's a lion in every one of us, but we think we're sheep. And so sometimes you hear something, maybe a line of poetry, or you go to a talk like this, or you see somebody dealing with a difficult time in life in an intelligent, creative way, and you think, yeah, I want to be like that. And the fact is, you are like that. So if each of you were to think, who do you admire? Who do you really admire, living or dead? And who you admire, if you admire, let's say, I don't know, whatever. I admired Oprah. And there's a bit of an Oprah in me, clearly. So other people can be, in a way, role models for us. And we can live in the world very efficiently, working at our jobs and taking care of our families and so on. But this cannot be at the expense of knowing yourself. That's the first duty we have, to come to know yourself and to be all that you can be. And I don't mean this in a selfish, egotistical way. I mean it in the highest spiritual sense of the word. You all have to go back to work, don't you? Right? So unless there are other questions, I thank you for being here. And hopefully some of you will come. I have some flyers here. Do come and help yourselves. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. Yeah, take one of each. They're sort of self-explanatory.